morning. I don't know if you could hear this sound that I'm surrounded by here. I'm down in Truro, it's about 6:30 in the morning. I've just been walking by the river, walked into town and walked by the river. Now I'm just walking back to the house through the town centre. It's just starting to come awake. The kind of rumbling noise you can probably hear is this vehicle over here, which I think is putting up some Christmas decorations. But I've been really listening to the sounds. When I was over by the river just a few minutes ago, it's tidal, the River Fal here. It's at low tide and there's lots of mud flats. And there was this brilliant sound coming up the river. And it was a gang or murder of crows, I guess it would be called. Probably 30 or 40 crows flying up the river, followed almost immediately afterwards by a whole lot of seagulls. Again, 20 or 30 seagulls. I don't know whether they were chasing them or what happened. I had a weird feeling, perhaps there's been a tsunami and all the birds are coming inland. Just listen to that sound. It sounds like they're far away, doesn't it, seagulls? But the seagull that's just making this noise is just up here on the Panmure Market. It's very close, but it's making this sound like it's a long way away. I love that. What I've been trying to do for the last half hour or so actually is just kind of be inside this world of sounds really, rather than such a visual kind of environment. And I've been trying to do something that John Cage talks about. He's dead now, the experimental musician. I really like his stuff. He wrote some beautiful things as well. He wrote about the experience of sound and music and art more generally in a really gorgeous way, I think, really poetic way. And he talked a lot about silence, for example, but he also talked about sound and listening and how he really likes it when sounds don't kind of make an appeal to him. They don't try to engage him in conversation. They don't try to engage his emotions. They don't close down. They stay as what they are. They stay as sounds. And he was very interested in kind of natural and accidental sounds rather than the kind of constructed sounds that we think of as a traditional kind of canon of music. Artificial sounds or accidental sounds, the kind of sounds that you hear in the background of this video right now, is the kind of thing that John Cage was interested in. Because they're not sounds that are composed for a purpose. They have individual identities, but their identity is meaningless to me, and they're meaningless in the context of the rest of the sounds, the composition we're hearing. They're just sounds and silences laid out over time. And he kind of encourages us, I think, from his own example, to try to give sounds their place in the world. But to just let them be, really. I was watching a video on YouTube this morning. I was up since about 4:30. And I can't remember the name of this guy. It was a lecture he was talking about. But when he was talking about brain states, he was talking about neurology and meaning, evolution of meaning and matter and energy. It was quite interesting. I'll see if I can remember where it was and put a link in the description box. One of the things he was talking about there was about the richness of the uncategorized experience, as opposed to I don't think you use the word poverty, but the kind of paucity of experience that you get when you know what you're seeing or experiencing because it's categorized. And this relates really closely, I think, to the John Cage stuff existing about sound. So as I'm standing here, I can hear a seagull, but as soon as I hear the word as soon as I recognise it as a seagull, it stops being part of a more complex, purely sonic or aural composition. It becomes my identification of a particular bird with all the associations that has. And similarly the truck over there, as soon as I identify the truck, then I've kind of closed that and kind of deprived it of its identity as sound and given it a particular meaning, but I've also deprived myself of a richer experience by closing it. Really. Listen to the sound of that basket being dragged. So whilst I'm standing here, I'm trying to find ways to forget what I'm hearing, to make those sounds strange to me again, so I can just experience them as sounds. One of the ways I'm doing it is just kind of indexing them in my mind, not as sounds that are associated with particular objects or processes, but I'm just kind of indexing them in space and time. So I'm just locating them in three-dimensional space around me. That is over here, this is there, that's there. So it's more like I'm just laying them out in some kind of cognitive database of location and then time, what is coming after that. This piece of silence follows that particular sound. It's followed that by other piece of silence. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of just trying to imagine it a different way. Anyway, I'll let you hear it for a bit.